It was one of those late, restless drives where the highway gets so empty your brain starts to hum. Just me and Mateo, windows cracked for the cool air, music low enough that the road noise sounded like ocean waves. We were headed east to make a dawn check-in at a job site, and I thought I was being clever, taking a thin gray ribbon on the map labeled Farm Ard. The GPS hated it, kept rerouting us back to the interstate, then freezing, then spinning the little blue dot like it was dizzy. "Dude, this is fine," I said, tapping the dash. "It chops like 40 minutes. Mateo shrugged and tightened his seatbelt anyway. He's the kind of guy who can fall asleep anywhere, but not that night. Not on that road. The blacktop narrowed to a single lane in places. Trees crowded the shoulders. No marker posts, no reflectors, just our headlights tugging two pale lines out of the dark. First weird thing, the smell. Hot tar and wet hay. There hadn't been rain for days and we were nowhere near a farm, but that smell sat thick in the car. Second weird thing, the signs. We passed a bent guardrail with a county marker that said Mile 7. 20 minutes later, same bent guardrail, same rust chevron, same gouge where a bumper hit it hard. I only noticed because I'd made a stupid joke the first time, Mile 7 lucky, and the second time it slipped out of my mouth again before my brain caught up. "Didn't we already?" Mateo turned in his seat and looked back as if the road might show us its trick if we stared long enough. His breath fogged the passenger window in a nervous oval. He wiped it with his sleeve and left a damp smear. I eased off the gas. The center line had vanished miles ago. Our tires hummed over mixed patches of asphalt and cold tar snakes. The trees fell away to flat, shin-high scrub dotted with cattail shadows. No houses, no fences. The night was too quiet. Even the engine sounded muffled, like we'd driven under a thick blanket. Then we saw it. An old pickup on the shoulder, tailgate half open, cab door angled, dome light dead. It had the square nose of the trucks from the 80s, and the paint, or what was left of it, peeled off in long scabs. The hood was popped. Steam ghosted up in a thin ribbon and vanished in the beam of our headlights. No flashers, no phone light, no person waving us down. "Keep going," Mateo said too fast. I pulled in behind it anyway, less brave than I wanted to sound. What if someone's hurt? We stepped out together, doors thunking like we'd just shut ourselves into a refrigerator. Night air hit my face cold and earthy, and the hair on my arms lifted. Gravel crunched under our shoes. From the dark fields, a single insect scraped its wings, then stopped like it remembered something. I leaned on the pickup's fender. Warm. Way too warm for a truck that looked like it hadn't moved in years. "Hello?" I called, pitching my voice to sound casual. "You good?" No answer. The cab smelled like old cigarettes and something metallic. Stale blood has that iron bite, but this was, I don't know, wet coins. On the passenger floor sat a half-crushed fast food bag, and under it a folded county map with a black marker line drawn straight through where we were. I touched the paper. It was damp at the edges, like a sweaty palm had been holding it a long time. I checked the ignition. No keys. I reached toward the glove box, paused, then popped it open anyway. Inside, outdated registration, a coil of baling wire, a box of nails. A pale rectangle of dust showed where something bigger had been, recently removed. When I shut the glove box, my own reflection flashed in the cracked rear view for a second. Eyes too wide, jaw set tight. And over my shoulder, for half a heartbeat, it looked like someone was sitting in our car watching us. I spun around. Our car idled with its headlights on, beams washing the scrub. Empty. I told Mateo I was spooked. He admitted he'd been spooked since Mile 7, the first Mile 7. We got back in. I squeezed the steering wheel hard enough that the leather dug crescents into my palms and pulled back onto the lane. The road curved, dipped, then ran straight. The GPS finally chirped like a dying bird. Head east on recalculating. I thumbed the power button. It wouldn't turn off. The screen just brightened, then dimmed. Out ahead, the center of our high beams caught the glint of a reflective sign. As it slid by, my stomach dropped. Bent guardrail, county marker, Mile 7. I downshifted without thinking, heart thudding in my throat. The exhaust drone rose, then fell. As we rolled past the same shredded black tires tangled in the weeds, the same crushed soda can by the white line, I knew we were either stuck in our own stupid joke or heading deeper into someone else's. Mateo swallowed and whispered, "We never passed a junction. We never turned." The wind moved low over the scrub and hissed like radio static. From somewhere behind us, a pair of headlights flicked on. They were too far back to be ours reflected. Too low to be a semi, perfectly spaced, perfectly still for a breath. Then they started closing the distance like they knew us. And that was when I realized the pickup hadn't been abandoned at all. It had been waiting. I gunned it, not fast. Just enough to feel the engine's weight come alive under my right foot. The headlights behind us stayed the same size for a few beats, like whoever drove that truck wanted us to know they weren't in a hurry. My mouth went dry. I could taste dust. Mateo twisted around in his seat, knees up, trying to see faces through the glare. "Nobody," he said. "I swear I don't see a head silhouette. Is the seat empty? How?" The road didn't widen. It didn't get any friendlier. Every few seconds the asphalt rippled and our suspension thumped and settled, thumped and settled. I watched the temperature gauge just to have a number to cling to, but it might as well have been a compass spinning. When I glanced up, the truck behind us wasn't behind us anymore. It was ahead. No approach. No passing lights. Just gone from the mirror, now sitting on the shoulder 30 yards in front of us with its hood up and tailgate sagging, exactly where we'd found it the first time. Same angle. Same steam. Our beams painted the bedliner a chalky gray. A dark smear ran along the inside of the tailgate. Grease, I told myself. Oil. Not what my lizard brain thought. I braked hard, tire squeal flat in the open night. We stopped close enough that I could read the ghost of a dealership sticker on the bumper. Mateo hissed through his teeth. "Nope, nope, we're not doing this." He popped his door. Cold air slammed in. "Wait!" I grabbed his sleeve, but he was already moving, walk half run toward the tailgate, shoulders up like he expected a punch. I followed because the idea of staying alone in our car felt worse than the idea of standing next to a haunted junker. Up close, the smear wasn't grease. It had that tacky, almost dried look that smudges when you brush it. The bed held a single object, a red shop towel folded too neatly, edges squared, sitting dead center like an offering. Under the towel, a rectangle bulged. "Don't," I said. Mateo lifted the towel anyway. A Polaroid lay beneath, fresh. The white border hadn't fully cured to white. And the picture, God, the picture was us. Not a memory, not some scene from earlier that a prankster could fake. This was seconds old. Our taillights burned at the edge of frame. My shoulders were hunched at the wheel. Mateo's hand was on the door handle. Above us, the night curved the same way the night was curving now. He dropped it. It stuck to his palm for a breath before fluttering, picture side down, onto the bed. Something thumped inside the cab. A single heavy footfall on a rubber mat. The kind of sound you feel in your ribs. "Hello?" I said again. Because apparently my brain only had two modes. Be stupid or be silent. The driver's door eased, just a whisper. I saw the hinge flex. I saw the shadow inside get a fraction darker. The radio crackled. Not music, not a voice. Just the ugly snow of an empty frequency. Then, under the static, a little click and whistle cadence like someone tapping a tooth with a coin. Mateo's fingers closed on my wrist hard enough to grind bone. "Get in, now." We jogged back, not running. Running would have made whatever this was feel like a chase. When we got into our car, I could feel the seat fabric against my damp shirt, and it made me shiver. I put it in drive, pulled out, and passed the pickup wide. As we drew even with the cab, I made myself look in. The seatbelt hung slack. The steering wheel was turned slightly to the right like a hand had just left it. In the ashtray sat a single quarter, its edge nicked, gleaming in our light. Tap a tooth with a coin. I kept moving. A mile, if miles meant anything out there, and the road tightened again. We came up on a crossroad that hadn't been there before. A dirt track cut left and right through the scrub. each direction vanishing into unlit ruts. Mateo's phone lit his face, pale blue. "No service," he said, then held it to his ear anyway just to pretend. He made a joke about calling his mom. Neither of us laughed. "Left," I said, because left felt like flipping a coin and I didn't want to say right. We took it, tires spitting dust. The main strip of farm road fell behind, swallowed whole. The sky seemed lower. Off to our right, a windmill skeleton stood against the stars, vanes missing, frame creaking when there wasn't any wind. The smell of hot tar faded. Something else took its place. A sour reek like pond muck. A minute later, our high beams found another sign. My stomach did a slow roll. The county marker didn't say mile 7, it said county line, and someone had scratched deep gouges across the word line until it just read county. Below that, in the exposed metal, you could see letters like someone had kept carving after they ran out of sign. "Come back." Mateo slapped the dash. "Nope, no, absolutely not." We turned around. The dust we'd kicked up had already settled. Our tire tracks looked older than a minute. They looked like old scars. The windmill creaked again. When we found the main strip, it didn't look like a road anymore. It looked like a pale scar through the scrub. No lines, no shoulder, just a suggestion. And there, a few yards off to the right, the pickup idled, headlights off, door open. The light from our beam slid across the inside of the windshield and caught something white on the passenger seat. Another Polaroid. This one faced up. I didn't want to see it, I saw it anyway. My hands tightened so hard the steering wheel leather squeaked. It was a picture of two shapes standing by a tailgate under white headlights. One tall, one a little shorter. Both blurry, like they'd moved the instant the shutter clicked. Both with faces that looked a little too much like ours. The truck's radio crackled and a man's voice finally came through, too close, like he was whispering into our car instead of his. "Don't miss your turn." Then he laughed once, a single dry bark, and the tailgate slammed down by itself. We didn't talk about it. We didn't have the words. I shoved the shifter and let the engine climb until it felt like the whole car was vibrating around my bones. Dust streamed behind us, pale in the beams, then darker, then gone. The pickup didn't chase. It didn't have to. It already knew where we were going. The road skin changed under our tires, hard, then soft, then a washboard that rattled my teeth. My tongue tasted copper. Mateo dug his fingertips into the door pull and kept looking everywhere at once. "Your brights," he whispered. "Kill them." I clicked them down. The world dimmed. The darkness pressed closer, soft at the edges like fog. My pupils fought to drink more light. We slid over a shallow dip, and the undercarriage scraped. That sound, thin metal on stone, went through me like a blade on a plate. "Okay," I said, trying to sound steady. "We're going to stop and wait. Let whatever is ahead go past. We'll let the road change without us on it." I coasted, eased us onto the dead grass that passed for a shoulder and killed the lights. The engine ticked as it cooled. A cricket took one test chirp and went silent like it had been shushed. In the rear view, black. In the side mirror, black. In front of us, a dim smear that might have been sky and might have been the road. We sat like that, breathing loud in the quiet. A minute, two. Long enough for my legs to start buzzing with trapped energy. Far out to our left, a shape moved. I thought wind, until I remembered there wasn't any. The windmill hadn't creaked since we turned the lights off. The shape glided, came to a stop. Another shape joined it. Two tall shadows standing shoulder to shoulder, perfectly still, in a field with nothing tall enough to cast them. Mateo whispered, "I think they're us." I wanted to tell him no, because telling him no would make me right. But he was right. Their outlines were wrong in all the ways our outlines were wrong. The slope of my shoulders, the slouch in his stance. They turned at the same time. How do shadows turn? And faced the road. "Lights," I said, and flicked them back on. The field snapped to nothing but scrub and emptiness. The shapes were gone, my chest packed with pressure. I put the car back on the strip of pale gravel and rolled. Slow. The air through the vents felt colder even though the temperature dial hadn't moved. The GPS, silent for ages, woke with a short electronic gasp. "Turn right," it said in a voice I didn't recognize. Not the cheerful GPS lady. Not a voice I would trust with directions to the bathroom. It sounded like someone forcing words through a dry throat. "Turn right, turn right, turn..." I tapped it. The screen washed white and then filled with a single road label written over and over in tiny text. Mile 7, mile 7, mile 7, stacked until it looked like the display had dandruff. I pulled the plug. The screen stayed on. The road bent and something inside me knew, down in the wordless belly place, that if I followed the bend we would see the bent guardrail again, and we would start over, and eventually there wouldn't be a way out, and we would become just another pair of faces in a Polaroid on a passenger seat. I yanked the wheel the other way, off the road, into the scrub. The chassis bucked. Brush scraped the underbody in a harsh zipper noise. Mateo shouted and jammed his hands to the ceiling for balance. "You're going to crack the oil pan." "Better than cracking our heads," I said, and we plowed on, aiming for nothing but darker darkness, guiding by a narrow gut sense that the road was the trap and the open field was the hole under the fence. The scrub dipped. The car tilted, belly heavy, and I saw the thin gleam of a drainage ditch ahead. I tapped the brake too late. We hit the lip, bottomed out hard, then slid down and thumped the far side. The engine stumbled and caught again. The smell of hot oil spun out under our feet. For a second I thought we'd killed it. Then the tires found purchase in wet clay and hauled us up onto a flatter patch. Behind us, the pickup's engine finally woke. Not the clean turn of a healthy motor. A rough coughing start, like an outboard chained to a rotten dock. Headlights flared, too bright, too wide. They washed the scrub from behind and laid our shadows long and panicked across the ditch. I cranked the wheel and punched it. The car fishtailed, straightened, fishtailed again, and we threaded between two low mesquite bushes that scraped both doors with a teeth-on-tin squeal. Behind us, the pickup's engine finally woke. Not the clean turn of a healthy motor. A rough coughing start, like an outboard chained to a rotten dock. Headlights flared, too bright, too wide. They washed the scrub from behind and laid our shadows long and panicked across the ditch. I cranked the wheel and punched it. The car fishtailed, straightened, fishtailed again, and we threaded between two low mesquite bushes that scraped both doors with a teeth-on-tin squeal. I didn't look back. I merged onto the highway and held steady at a speed that was not legal and not sustainable, but it felt like survival. After a minute that could have been an hour, the mirror stayed empty. The smell of hot oil retreated. The road noise went back to being ocean. Mateo settled his head against the window and laughed once, the kind of laugh that lives right next to crying. "You think we..." A sign swept past on the right. White letters, black border. I flinched like it might bite. It read the name of a town we actually knew, miles we believed in, speed limits that made sense. The GPS somehow had healed itself. It showed a normal blue line and a normal cheery voice said, "Continue for 22 miles." My fingers ached from the wheel. I forced them to unclench. We didn't speak until the next exit ramp rose like a promise. At the gas station there, bright and loud and smelling like burnt coffee and fryer oil, I finally turned the car off. The engine clicked and settled. When I opened the door, my knees shook so hard I had to touch the roof to steady myself. Mateo walked a few paces ahead and stopped dead. "Look," he said, "on our rear bumper, caught in the dirt and road film were two clear handprints, one at each corner. Pressed hard, fingers spread, the way you steady something you don't want to let go. The prints were bigger than mine, bigger than Mateo's, deep enough that you could see the swirl of the ridges. We stared until my scalp prickled. I wiped them away with the edge of my sleeve like brushing off a spider. The smear it left looked exactly like the dark mark inside the pickup's tailgate. We left before the coffee finished brewing. We didn't take shortcuts anymore after that. And every time I pass an old square-nosed pickup on the shoulder, hood up, steam curling, I keep my eyes straight ahead, because I'm pretty sure Mile 7 is patient, and it remembers faces. Here's the part you need to know right away. I stopped at an empty gas station in the middle of nowhere around 3 in the morning, and the lights turned on by themselves. That's how it started. The tank had been hovering below E for longer than I should have risked. My phone had no service, the GPS was stuck buffering, and the last town was over 30 miles behind me. I was running on fumes when I spotted the faded green sign with the outline of a gas pump. Next service, 1 mile. That 1 mile stretched like 10. The road was cracked, weeds growing through it, no other cars in sight. Then the station appeared on the left. 2 rusted pumps under a canopy, the kind with the paint peeled off so bad you couldn't even read the brand. No cars, no noise, just the low flick of one busted light over the pumps. I pulled up slow, rolled down the window and listened. Nothing, not even crickets. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring. I killed the engine, stepped out, and the air felt colder than it should have in late summer. The pump handle was wrapped in spiderwebs. The digital display was dead. I was about to curse my luck when the canopy lights hummed alive one by one, buzzing like angry bees. The pump screen blinked. Then it flashed a single word. Ready. I swear I hadn't touched anything. My card slid in rough like the reader hadn't been used in years. For a second I thought it would reject me, but the screen lit up with approved. The pump handle felt greasy in my hand, but when I pressed it, fuel actually flowed. The smell was sharp, fresh, real. That's when I noticed the convenience store. The windows were dark, but the sign above the door, half the letters burned out, glowed faint red. Open. It wasn't on when I pulled in. A low thunk came from inside, like someone dropping something heavy on the counter. The pump clicked off. Tank full. My heart started hammering. I looked back at the store, and in the reflection of the glass door, I thought I saw a shape move behind the counter. I should have driven off, I should have. But instead I pulled the handle out, capped the tank, and stared at that door until my curiosity dragged me forward. As I stepped onto the cracked pavement, the glass door slid open on its own. The smell hit me first. Not dust, not old wood. It was bleach. Strong, biting, like someone had just mopped the place top to bottom. But the floor tiles were grimy, yellowed with age. Nothing looked freshly cleaned. The overhead lights flickered once and steadied. Rows of snacks and canned goods lined the shelves, but everything looked wrong. Bags puffed up like they'd been filled with air. Labels faded into white blur. Soda bottles full, but with no logos. Like props, not real products. Behind the counter was an old box TV with a built-in VCR. The screen glowed gray static, hissing low. Beside it, a stack of VHS tapes, each labeled in shaky black marker. 1, 2, 3. The latest one said 13. I don't know why I did it, but I picked up 13 and slid it into the VCR. The static cut out. The picture shook, then steadied. It was security footage. I saw the very same store from above, wide angle. The timestamp in the corner read 01:58 a.m., just a few minutes earlier. A man walked in, the door sliding open the same way it had for me. He wore a hoodie, jeans, sneakers. He went straight to the counter, looked around, then froze. Because on the tape, behind the counter, something tall shifted into frame. Not a person. A silhouette darker than shadow, with arms too long, bending wrong as it leaned closer to him. The man bolted for the door. The screen went black. I hit eject so hard the tape spat halfway out. My hands shook as I shoved it back onto the stack. That's when I realized the TV wasn't the only screen. Along the wall behind the counter were at least 6 small monitors stacked in 2 rows. Each flickered with a different view. Outside the pumps, the road, the aisles, the bathroom door. I scanned each one. On the pump camera, I saw my car. My car, sitting right where I'd left it. But there was someone leaning against the hood. Same hoodie, same jeans, same sneakers as the guy from the tape, except I hadn't seen anyone out there when I walked in. The glass door behind me hissed. I spun around. Empty. The pumps were still, the canopy lights buzzing, but on the monitor the man leaned forward and pressed his hand flat on my windshield. Slowly, like he was leaving a mark. And then, This part I'll never forget. On the screen, his head turned until he was staring straight into the camera, straight at me. I backed up until my shoulders hit the shelf behind me, knocking bags of fake chips to the floor. My pulse pounded in my throat. I forced myself to look away from the monitors, to the actual glass door. Still empty, just the dead lot and my car. But when I looked back, the monitor now showed him standing at the store entrance. Hoodie pulled low, face nothing but a black blur. The glass door hissed. This time, it opened. The air turned sharp, colder than the night outside. I staggered back. "Hello?" My voice cracked. No answer. Just that empty doorway yawning in front of me. Then I heard it. Not from outside. From inside, behind the counter. A slow scraping like nails dragging across the underside of the desk. The kind of sound you feel in your teeth. I forced a step closer. The monitors flickered. For a split second, every single one showed me, standing where I was, filmed from slightly different angles. Like the cameras weren't just in the store, like they were everywhere. The scraping stopped. The silence after was worse. My eyes darted to the counter, and in the gap underneath I saw something pale. A hand. Thin, too long. Fingers jointed wrong. It curled against the tile, and another followed, pulling a shape out from beneath the counter. I didn't wait to see the rest. I bolted. My shoes slapped the tile, the glass door sliding wider as I crashed through it. The cold outside felt like freedom. I sprinted to my car, fumbling the keys, heart slamming. The windshield was smeared with a perfect handprint, greasy and dark. The engine caught on the second try. Headlights lit the pumps, the store, the open door yawning behind me. For half a second, I thought I saw someone in the doorway, tall, hunched, head tilted too far. Then the canopy lights blinked out, all at once. The entire station dropped into black. I floored it. Gravel sprayed as I tore back onto the cracked highway. I didn't check the mirrors until miles later. When I finally did, the road was empty. My rear window clean. No handprints, no headlights behind me. But the smell of bleach lingered in the car for hours. And sometimes when I stop for gas late at night, the pump screen flickers before it turns on. And for a split second, I swear, it flashes one word: ready.